Well, hello everyone. This is Seen How Many, the podcast, the English language podcast of Near-Balkan about shooting independent, no budget, low budget short films, documentaries, about our experiences with Morgan, who's in from South Africa as usual. Hey.
Yes, from Makanda or Grahamstown, down in the southeast
Wow.
of South Africa.
Sounds exotic from Europe.
Yes. Well, the
and-
Europeans always sound so exotic to me.
Well, that's mutual then. Well, I'm in from Marseille, which is like exotic already for me as a European, but an Eastern European. Now I'm on the West. Well, it's the same out here. The only difference is we're not in a dictatorship here, I guess. I don't know. Maybe
Or
I
at
am.
least not such an obscene dictatorship.
Yeah, well, maybe. If capitalism itself is not obscene enough already, but we'll see.
Well, at least we're not in America, I suppose.
Yeah, well, way better than that. Yeah, of course, obviously. So, we are a podcast of a platform Near-Balkan, which I, as usual, have to introduce. It's a platform that we've been developing for the past two and a half years, and now it's about to like start finally its competitions where anyone, not just like professional filmmakers, but any aspirants of in the medium of filmmaking, if they have any like film draft, film idea for a documentary, for a short film, for a feature film, for an animation, for anything, but they are not sure whether that's a great idea or not, and they would dare to compete with other ideas of the same kind. This is what we made the platform for, to contest the ideas that usually are for films that get made, not that like compared to the standard, more like substandard quality movies that are lazy written, lazy shot, and lazy marketed and lazy distributed, only money making machines without any meaning behind the story, without any moral for the story, and without any like even original elements in the films, anything to tell from the side of the filmmakers. And so to find like an antidote to this well, illness of the film industry and the art of the medium of film in general, we want to create a platform where the films in the idea stage, in the draft stage, can compete for the likes of the audience, a future possible audience that buy premiere tickets as votes to the movies that they like, and each like every 2 months one movie is selected that got the most votes, and that movie gets 1 year to be made, to be premiered, to be projected in front of that audience that actually voted for the movie and paid for the pre-ordered premiere tickets. And so this is it. Our hopes are that if this works out well, we can give well chance in filmmaking, in the craft of a very hierarchical, a very elite art form, a chance to participate, it could democratize the art form even more than it is with the cheap equipment that are accessible now compared to 20, 30 years ago, and the cheap democratized distribution through social media. So the only thing left is really the contesting of ideas and well, a competition of sorts that is not based on the algorithm.
Early independent work.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's it. And so the topic for today is shooting and editing a film, which is quite obvious for a film, but it actually is only we could only get to it in the 5th episode of the podcast, because we talked about like formulating the idea, pre-production, brainstorming, finding conflict, writing, planning, yeah, all that. And yeah, we've only gotten to finishing the script and doing the table read and the selection of actors and the casting in the last episode. So we're right at the shooting, at the planning of the shooting, at the execution of the shooting, and then. So,
And then later
where do we start? Yeah, and then we also have that one. Where do we start? We have lots to discuss.
We could always start with our most classic example of our first project together. I feel like that was a unique starting point, because you were both the writer and the director of that dramedy or piece of satire.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call it dramedy then. If satire, then satire. But yeah, well, it was a strange occasion, because actually it was my second year in a project, my second project where I could shoot a film and I could write one. And the previous project, I was like, the project itself that we talked about in previous episodes, it's not for filmmaking, it's for different, like, multiple forms of arts in a 3-week long project that the participants propose to each other. So it's nothing's like pre-written. And in the first project, I wasn't sure. I mean, I brought my film equipment, but I wasn't sure whether I'll get to make a film, and whether I'd have the possibility to do so. But then I met a Turkish writer, and he was such a fun guy to work with, and he had great ideas, and he had a great sense of writing comedy and writing satire. That in the second year, when I went back, I didn't want to set the standards to where they were in the previous project, but I felt like I already know how to do this, and I could get better in it. And so we didn't have Barkan, our friend, the Turkish writer, so I had to do it myself. But at first, it wasn't the plan. The plan was to do a drama, as everyone wants to when we're talking about short films and early films. But the topic was feminism, and the drama aspect just didn't work. And we talked about this previously. And so when it came to actually doing the comedy, which we talked about how it formulated the script, we lost the crew. Like, we lost the cast, we lost everyone, and we only got a few people at the table read that really wanted to do it. And so we only had enough people to just enough people to actually start the process. But the point is, we lost the workshop that we had, for developing the movie. And so planning the shooting was basically like a 2 to 3 people job that we were tasked with. And back then it was Joe, if you remember, Yoto, that we we planned it with, and it was only the two of us that planned the shot list and the storyboards and all that. And then Jacopo and Diletta came in, and they, as we met in Italy when I had my Erasmus semester in Italy in Macerata, they already prepared to the project before they came as filmmakers, as camera operators, as like directors of photography to participate. So it was quite straightforward that they would want to do it. And we had quite a sequel a year after when Jacopo, who came back, wanted to direct already. But the point is, so we had this like 4 people crew there, but if we kind of split tasks with Joe. We were in the directorial department. Jacopo and Diletta were in the camera direction department, and we didn't really like. We collaborated, of course, but we didn't. Yeah, it didn't intersect. We didn't take intervene in each other's departments. We just coexisted. And yeah, you go.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt.
With your, how was your experience with directing a piece of, a screenplay that you wrote? Was it easier or more difficult than directing something that someone else wrote?
Well, it's strange. It wasn't the first film of my own that I directed, but it was the first one that I done in English, and I directed others' scripts in English before, but not my own. And so this was the greatest experience of directing a short film, like for now, like the best, because with fiction, and I only directed my own material like since then once, but that was a drama and it didn't work out that well. But when it's a satire and when it's fiction and when you direct the thing that you've written, there is this cheeky thing that it like you can't really explain the joke to the people, especially if you're in a project where we talked about the dilemma is already there, so you can't like reveal it because they would shut you down. But you have to explain the jokes to the actors, but you can't explain the jokes like as in they have to understand, they have to experience it first. Yeah, to the camera you can't, obviously, but not to the actor as well, because they have to like be in the joke, and they're not on the receiving end. So it was really interesting, because with the drama it's different, and I'm not a good drama director. I failed at it, and I think there must be some methodology on how to approach the same, like putting characters into the mood to actually perform that drama. But with comedy, I experienced it, and it was really, but that was a deep like collaboration when you actually get to like tell the same joke together with other people that you really feel is an important thing to tell. And well, I've never had that since. And you prepare with the actors one-on-one or in an ensemble scene, and you go into a room, you present that this is what we're going to shoot in an hour, or when in the table read when we get to the scene. And so they like you have to like put together a scene like a board game, like you would do on a board game. Like you put the actors on the spots,
maybe
on the stage, yeah, and you block them, but you kind of like give them their characters. You resurrect these like like stiff, non-existent figures. You give life to the characters, at least from the point of view and from that like subjective perspective. But it's such a deep like experience that you get, and you don't really get it that much, because you know what you want to do, you get to do it, there is attention given to it, there is motivation from the people to do it, and it comes to life. And when it happens, that's just fab. And I think that's the magic of filmmaking, so that this is the experience that you prepare for, and why you do it.
Yeah, and we experience any time that we do these projects together. Oftentimes we don't have very much opportunity to actually shoot the thing. We always have to squeeze the shooting into a couple of days. And what do you think that does to the shooting process and the rehearsal time? Does that contribute
Well,
to any quality in the work?
it might be like contradicting, paradoxical, but actually having a close deadline, I mean that close, like you only have 3-4 days to shoot, one to edit, two to edit, it's way better than like compared to what I had in June, last June, when I shot a documentary of the Indian painters that were there in Manet in France, and their experience in France, and how they do their art differently, how they pursue their art differently, and how they project their own vision to the like geography of Manet. And so I had like 2 or 3 weeks to do that. Even after the project started, it was there. They were there, and I could work with them. And I had no motivation whatsoever. I mean, I did the thing, and I shot the thing, and I mean, I like to do it when I do it, but I had like it cannot be compared to how it is when you have a deadline, when you have a team, and when you have an idea that you want to convey. And so having the deadline 3 to 5 days away, it's such a motivating thing to have. I mean, so even if it's like unrealistic, and you can't really shoot a proper movie this way, having to shoot like a proof of concept movie, like most of what we actually produce here, like idea drafts in motion picture, and I think this is the best way to start making a movie. But yeah, I mean,
with at least a skeleton or a draft of how you want things to be.
yeah, exactly. And you won't get it. I mean, most of the time, won't get the shots you want. You won't get the the actors to perform the way you want them to. I mean, you imagine them to, but you get all the creative compromises. You get to make the decisions, the creative decisions, based on a limited palette, and I think that's the greatest thing to have, because otherwise, if everything's given to you, and you just imagine something and you can do it exactly the way you imagined it, it's not, there's no challenge in it. And after all, the only things that matter in the story, other than the story, I mean, in the film, other than the story, is the creative decisions that you put in it.
Yeah, but
So
maybe
yeah,
also the environmental concerns as well. I mean, in that first film, we really struggled with the heat in one of the sets that we had to shoot in. And
yeah.
I
Well,
think you had quite a few scenes that you shot in that attic up there.
well, actually, that was the only like hot environment in temperature, at least, that we had to shoot in.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the first, or one of the first. That was the first day, as I remember, that we were shooting, and yeah, you had a scene with Ralph, our big Lebanese guy, our great friend, and
Our great friend and best comic of the whole project.
yeah, exactly, the sweet comic, and with Borja, the like semi-protagonist of the film. And so Borja, as an actor, I mean, he was a professional there. He just sat down and that did his lines like anytime we asked, or played it again in different, like, he even gave variations. But he performed previously in English, so he was the experienced one. And even though, like, Ralph is like half actor, half scenographer, architect, that kind of thing. Even though he's an actor, he is Lebanese. He never played in English, and I mean, no, he did. He did actually. He played with an American, like, ensemble, but other than that, he wasn't. He didn't get used to doing it in English, so he had even time related problems. He couldn't memorize his lines, so he actually struggled the most there to remember the lines, to find the lines, to find the meaning behind the lines. And it was fun, but at the same time the time was up, and we went like 2 hours overdue, and it was getting hot. It was like 40 degrees. We were up in, not in the attic, but in the top floor, in a corner room,
The convent, yes.
of a convent, of a stone building, like very high, and midday. So it was like 2 to 4 to 6.
2 to 4 probably, yeah.
Yeah. Very, very hot. And so you, I'm not sure if you like acted before, or you
Yes.
before this, but it was like, I mean, the cast and the crew standing there, we had no idea how it was going to turn out. Like, everyone trusted me that I see the thing that will happen, but I didn't see shit. Like, I couldn't concentrate. Nobody could concentrate. We only had the script, we had the lighting, and well, everything was just by chance happening. We only like struggled to keep the lines together, but in the end, I think that was one of the best scenes that we got. Like, you were great, Ralph was great, Borja was great. It was quite straightforward what came out of that. So a great,
well,
like,
luckily,
paradox.
I mean, I feel like the only major challenge was the heat. I mean, at one point, I passed out for 2 seconds because there was just nothing happening.
Yeah, and well, that was a fun story. Like, we were in a scene, and like, you had a pause when Borja had a few lines, and he was talking, and I think it was a master shot. So you all three of you were in shot, and he was talking for half a minute. You didn't have anything to say to him, only to your only task was to look at him and to wait for your cue. And when we got to your cue, we were looking at Borja, like, whether he's gonna do it. Fine, he did, but then we were like waiting on him. What's gonna happen next? We didn't quite know. We were unfocused by then, that you're gonna continue, and then, like, it occurred to us, okay, but now we should continue. Something should happen, and we looked at you, and you were like with closed eyes looking at Borja, or kind of, and, and you didn't say a word. We weren't sure whether you're playing or it's outside of a scene, and you just how do you call it? Your head just fell,
Drooped.
and we were like, yeah. We were like, well, what's now?
What happened?
Like, how are we gonna get you back? How are we gonna continue with the next stakes? Because we're not sure whether we can make it up again, like in the schedule, back to the same scene to restart. So it was tense, it was fun, and it was like once in a lifetime experience seeing you pass out during a shoot. Nice.
Yeah. Well, next time we'll need to have more water up those stairs.
Well, if that helps
But,
even a bit.
yeah. Well, I remember during the same film. I think it was during the conspiracy of the actors.
Mm-hmm.
Of the characters, where they were trying
Oh.
to overthrow the original group. That one of the actors had already been drinking, so he was quite fluid in the moment.
Ah, yeah. Actually, I forgot that one, but that was also hot, and we were shooting at 3 a.m. Like during the night. They really wanted to sleep already, and they had to play the scene as if it were like during the day, but we didn't have any other time slot to schedule it into, and so like that late, you also are unable to concentrate. And we had Cornell, who had just like started courting this the scenographer of a movie, and so they, well, while we like set up like ended the take and set up the next take for the same scenes, for the same shot, or set up new shots, they were out in the corridor, because we were in one of the rooms of the convent. They were out in the corridor, and they made out. And when we like sent someone to get them, they like even like halted the production. They need the time for them to to make out. And then he came and he played the scene, and after we said cut, he went out again, and he was like staying out there all along. And obviously they had drinks, and they were like full of alcohol, the crew, and they also went out to drink with them. But we, with the actors who were in the scene, and with the Jacopo and Diletta, the camera operators, and with Joe, we were like deeply invested in getting the pieces like in
the scene finished. Yeah.
getting the scene finished. And so it was also intense and fun at the same time, because if you can like relax like this in an intense situation, that's the most fun you can have. So yeah, it was fun as well. And yeah, shooting, you imagine when you don't know yet how is it and how it goes, you imagine it's like it's presented in the movies, like a Hollywood shoot, when the director like comments and everyone helps around and goes around. But when you shoot low budget, and that's, I think, like the independent production fun is actually like finding a way through all the obstacles that you can't plan on, and that just come your way. And you have something scheduled, you don't have enough time, you always underestimate the time needed and the resources needed there, and your like you overestimate your planning, and how you will like how you prepare for all the challenges that will come to you and come at you. And actually, like with finding the shots, even though you storyboarded, you prepared, but you have to go around with the camera, you have to change, because you don't have a lens that's wide enough to capture the room, or you don't have the focus there, you don't have audio, you have to place the boom, but you plan this already, but it doesn't work. The room is smaller, the actors are like unhappy. The actors have to go. Someone has to leave. You have to make it, and it's the most fun thing with finding all the ways in between.
I think the best instance for well, kind of what we were talking about earlier as well, was in the second movie when we were shooting all the scenes with Peter up at the house there. And we couldn't get the actors to keep a straight face at all.
Yeah.
It was again like the day 2 of shooting without any real rehearsals, and
that movie
really
was the
tired
most
after.
rehearsed. That movie was the most rehearsed, and even this way, we couldn't. Yeah. And that was a drama, and it was really tough because we didn't have Jacopo, we didn't have Diletta, we didn't have professionals with equipment that could make the decisions for the camera department. And even though I like written and directed it, I half directed it. We had Jofi there who directed the actors and put the scenes together that I've written, but I wasn't really sure at that point whether she understands the same way as I do. But we didn't really have a choice. I had to focus on the equipment because even though we had like lighting professionals, electric professionals, they weren't like cinematographers. They didn't understand the craft and how the equipment works, and so we had to get through all of those. And I basically had to like do the camera operation. And so she directed them, but when I found a problem, I had to like over direct, which I didn't want to do. I hate that thing the most, when a director like turns a shooting into an autocracy where nothing's wrong if he doesn't agree with the decisions made without him, and he wants to, just for the spite of it, to change the way that the decision has been made without him, even if the decision was better than his way of doing it. But sometimes, I felt like I needed to, and I didn't want to, and I was, so it was a very difficult situation. And in the midst of that, we had again a very tight schedule, but I didn't have even the time to like discuss with the actors. And we had the scene where they basically only had some guidance from Jofi to that they memorized and obviously forgot to read back to the camera. And obviously it was hot again in the summer in the countryside at noon, or I don't know, 2 p.m. And they had a scene that was running for 10 minutes, so it was a very long one take master, and the how do you call it, pickup takes in between. And they obviously they started to laugh at every single detail in it, so we had these laughing sections for
where
like
no
tens
one,
of takes.
yeah, no one could keep it together at all. I think we were also struggling, and you were feeling the stress in a more demanding way, I think.
Yeah, but I mean that shoot was also great compared to how it turns out most of the time on
Yeah.
student films and on low budget, no budget first second productions. But at the same time, like, you have to have the discussion with the actors. You have to be how you say, on par with the actors. You have to have that common understanding that the others might not have, but you can like wink at each other knowing the detail in the script that they're gonna display.
Yeah, you have to share the joke and the punchline.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so in that movie, in the second movie, in this drama, there was a great obstacle, and now that we can get to the bad direction side, when so there was a death scene, like a mother was dying, and two adult children were around and were sleeping while the mother was obviously on her dying bed almost, but no, she was in a tub full of water, and she was already she already fell asleep. But then the children discovered, and we had this scene which was quite cliche, but anyway, important bit in the story, in the plot, where they discover that the mother died, and they don't say it to each other, not to have that cliche, obviously. And I when I wrote the scene, I based it upon the real thing, on how my grandmother died and how they discovered it, my uncle and mother. And I wasn't there. I didn't know how it happened, but I was there when we put my grandmother into the deathbed, or into the tub.
Yeah.
And so I when my mother explained how it happened, I got the imagery quite clear. And so I've written that scene, how they discover from just looking at each other that the mother died, and how they have this very disturbing realization, but at the same time a relief. And I've written it, I had it on the page, I put everything into it that I felt, but I had no idea, and I kind of forgot to make the decision beforehand, and with Jofi also, how are we going to shoot the dying and the discovery of the dead mother. And so we were there with the actors, and so obviously a good direction would be to make the actors understand the situation that they're in, the dynamic that they're in, and just let them live it. Not to tell how to move, what you do, and how to say. Just tune the actor on whether to give more or less in the performance. That is basically just a reaction to the dynamic, to the situation that they're in.
Yeah, well, you want to direct the atmosphere, not the actors themselves.
Exactly. But at the same time, the result that you have on the film, hitting marks, the movements of the actors, the gestures of the actors, where their hands are placed, where their shoulders are facing, and where their head is turning, and how their mimics are. It's all on the director, and you have to get it right when you have the final product, because this is how you plan it, and this is how you convey the message. So it's really contrasting and contradicting. And so in that scene, we didn't have any idea. Jofi didn't have it. I didn't have it. How is he gonna play it? Sve, who had the mother's head in his hands, and so he proposed some ideas on how he would play it. He would cry, he would sob, he would hold the mother's head tighter, or and so there was no good takes in the end. I mean, it wasn't believable. Not that realistically or naturalistically you can't believe that it happens this way. No, it wasn't interesting. It didn't add anything to the viewer's understanding of the story. So it could have been just omitted entirely, and we would understand that the mother died. And and the point was this ellipsis anyway, that the explicit like line of that exposes the death of a mother was omitted. The scene itself was too much, and so these little decisions are that actually make and form a movie, like when put together in a complex scheme. And like this was one in particular that I felt didn't work out, and I remember exactly how it was when we were shooting it. But when I'm not the director of a movie, and you can be in any other a role, any other position, you feel it when the director doesn't know, and when the director doesn't know that they are like missing something that could have been recorded, but you can't tell them, or they don't take your word, and you know that you just left something uh, uh, um, like poorly done in the movie. And so I feel like this is bad direction, and this only is bad direction, and anything else, when you focus on capturing the opposite of this, the moments that you focus on what you want and have to tell to the audience, and nothing else, then you can do anything as a director. You can be even an asshole, an arrogant director. If you capture that, you have it done. And I feel like most student films don't understand that. I mean, why would they? They have to experience it, but student filmmakers don't understand it, and this is the error that is like uncorrectable. You just can't make up for it, you know.
Yes, well, I
After.
mean, of course, it's just it's a valuable and essential learning step, I suppose. Because otherwise, they'll never get it.
Well,
You need to mess
yeah,
up first.
exactly. But then on these projects, it's like you get the chance to direct sometime. I directed like four times, and then you like have to pass the opportunity to others. And so for the past 1.5 years, I was assisting more in others' films, even though I've written scripts for them. Some accepted, some cancelled, some just didn't make it. Uh, and so assisting others in directing movies, like Jacopo, who was a camera operator for me, and I was a camera operator for him a year after, uh, a year later, and then in August, like helping Jofi, who was like co-directing with me as a camera operator also. So it was like the reverse year of the previous year. Never occurred to me until now, but it
Yeah.
actually was. So it was like strange finding the same problems, same mistakes that I made, and I already knew I made them, and how I would correct it, and I have no saying in how it turns out when I'm not directing, and I can't tell. I mean, I always confront them and tell, but their call it is in the end. And so compared to that, how I couldn't predict how great the movies were in the end. So like in August, the movies were awesome. Like this awesome, and I didn't agree with most of the things, the way they happen in the shoots, in the decision making. But then I just couldn't put it together, and still I'm unable to put it together how it worked out for them, and how I felt like the decisions were like evaded, and yet they were made just in a different way. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like for the August project, because we were doing the whole birds and flight thing as our topic. What was the topic's name again?
The first one I think was Bird's Bath, and it was, I don't know, something with birds. Lauren invents, the project organizer Lauren invents everything, anything you want. But it was Birds season, so
yeah, birds.
Borders and Birds. Borders and Birds.
Oh, there we go. Of course, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I feel like our directors, also some of our Hungarian friends, I feel like they were more interested in capturing improvised scenes that were quite liberating for the rest of the actors, because they weren't needing to adhere to a strict script or anything. I feel like that might have helped just the atmosphere of the shooting, on set. Yeah.
Well, maybe, but I mean, so maybe I don't know. I never tried to capture improvisation, not even in a documentary. I mean, obviously you have it with you and you record, but so with the stories that I write and I tell, I feel like I have, like, the punchline doesn't come through if it's improvised, but maybe I never had that good of an actor that could improvise, keeping the punchline, understanding how the joke goes. Maybe that's it. But I never understood how, with that, like, little to tell to the actors, how you can let them improvise. Like, for me, I feel like it's a bad decision, and I don't understand how it turned out so great for them in the end product. But I feel like when you give that much freedom to the actors, you don't have the idea. You don't have it planned out. You don't have exactly what you want to convey there, and you just let something be recorded, and you'll find a way to put that in. I feel like this.
Well,
But
it's an interesting thing, because I feel like, we definitely had a script, because I struggle with improv, I think, and so I was always trying to get back on track to where they had said, "Oh, this is what we're wanting to capture here," and I feel like maybe it was because the whole group had the goal in their minds already, so we didn't really need to worry about getting sidetracked too much, because everyone knew what the story was, in a way. And I suppose they were also not too strict on having to adhere to some kind of narrative structure. They were kind of more into like an arty movie where, everyone was dressing up in funny clothing and pretending to be birds for the embodied scenes and things like that.
Yeah, but so when I regard that as a bad decision, I feel like it's like not making the decision, like escaping the decision and just recording whatever happens, like a school project. You can do anything, so you produce the thing that requires the least amount of energy and effort put in it. But at the same time, it was quite the opposite. And I wasn't there that much. I was helping in the other one, which was quite like strictly directed Joff's movie. But actually both made it, and both turned out great. Well, it's difficult. I'll never know. We'll see.
Well, maybe maybe that's what we should think about. I mean, because somehow your style, or at least what I'm hearing now, is that your style doesn't mix well with whatever they were doing.
No,
But to me, it looked like.
yeah. No, go ahead.
Well, like to me, it didn't feel like there was a lack of effort or like goal orientedness in that August production that I was a part of, the one that Andris directed. Somehow the directors knew what to say in a kind of liberating way. It didn't, because they had their vision, and they managed to get us to conform with that vision without sacrificing anyone's artistic autonomy, I feel.
Yeah, but so when I say school project-ish decision making or evading decisions, I feel like, so when you don't have a clear concept, you can't, like, obviously, yeah, there are actors who know what they do, but when you don't have a common concept or a common understanding of a concept, you can't let the actors do their craft because you're not doing the same thing. So most of the time with school projects, when it's like that, like you just record something that you will like assign a sense, a meaning to, but actually it wasn't a direct trial at the material. It was just something you. So what I'm trying to get to is if you don't have a common material, you can't let it to others. You have to direct it, because what they're gonna perform is not the material. It's just what they would naturally perform in that particular situation that you put them into.
Well,
And
I mean, I suppose that in a way, the way that shooting managed to, well, the shooting and the editing managed to work out so well is that it was kind of shot like a first-person narrative is written. Because obviously we had the whole analogy between the birds and the Ukrainian story that they were trying to highlight in that project, and the Ukrainian girls being the center of the story, even when they weren't the central aspect of the scene. Somehow they, like, the decisions were made by them being the focal point, and if they weren't the focal point, we knew that something was wrong. I mean, your idea of like being wary of a decision-making process, I'm not sure how that translates to this specific one, because they were making decisions, but maybe not in a very discerning way.
Well, maybe. I mean, I say I will never get to know it, but probably I'll. If I continue on this path, I'll find a crew that I get to have the same experience with, and maybe then. Okay, let's talk about camera direction and camera operation. I don't remember exactly, but were you at the camera on any of the shoots on any project?
I might have been. I was definitely doing the prop work for the revenge film, for our 30-minute spectacular. Um, I think there was a time that I was using the camera, but it was brief. Um, in that film, and then maybe in the puppet movie for uh, for the July for the July project this last year, I might have helped. I can't remember though.
Yeah, well, me neither. Me neither.
Yeah,
But
but
so
I feel like it, like for camera direction, a very good example is that puppet movie, because we were operating with a different kind of set each time, like with the shadow puppets and the regular puppet. Like how did you need to change um your perspective as a camera operator for those different kinds of scenes?
well, actually, that was not storyboarded by me, so it was pre-storyboarded, and I only gotten the camera operator credit and not the director of photography one. So I on that particular film, the storyboarding was done by a camera operator, videographer Jacopo, who did the previous year's Kitchen Wars film, and so he's a technical guy, so he knows. He's more invested in interested in finding like technical tweaks that he could like achieve there and do there, and so he assembled the storyboard and the scenes so that they could use uh, um, like multiple ways to demonstrate like puppetry and multiple forms of different forms of puppetry and how it could be captured on film. So it was more of a task for them to decide. Uh, um, but what was interesting, and it's interesting, like most of the time when you have a storyboard, is when you get to shoot it, it's like only like a quarter of the things that a storyboard gets you done, and you have to decide on all the technicals there. Like what I said previously, I mentioned previously, the lens are like half of the thing. When you don't have that like wide view perspective with the lens, you have to reframe. When that perspective is not exactly the one that you planned, the details and the locations are like composing your shot differently, and the locations are like again the other half of the thing. You have to adapt to the locations, and most of the time when you plan for objects, they are smaller, bigger, other shape. They don't fit that composition that well. The actor it was drawn differently, and it moves differently, and you didn't plan for that. And most of the time the location is just shaped differently. You don't get to have the same composition, and you have to make these compromises there. And when you prepare with the equipment. What are you gonna bring? What are you gonna put on the rig, the camera rig? How heavy it's gonna be? How are you gonna record with the microphones and all that? And well, it's quite like how do you call it? Not disturbing, but it's quite limiting. Yeah, rather quite limiting when you already prepare with a weighty camera with a very heavy equipment, and you have to make the decision to do a completely different shot there, and you have to go low angle when you have a tripod, or when you have a complete uh, uh, um, Steadicam with your gimbal, and you have to go under, and you have to take it from there. And so it's always risky with executing all of these ideas. And for the puppet film, Like it was lots of these decisions. I wasn't involved. I've written the material, but then I had a pause, and I gotten back to the shooting when the like location scouting was already done. The storyboarding was already done, the lighting preparations were already done, and then on the location with Jacopo's direction, I had to operate and move the camera according to the storyboard and the things planned. It was lit fine, it was lit nice and professionally, but the compositions, well, they were difficult to say the least. On the same location, for example, at the dining scene where you played the uncle, I guess it was the uncle. I don't
Yes,
know.
yes, I was the uncle, but of course, the uncle was actually the umbrella.
The umbrella as the puppet, and it was a live action puppet film, so you had the actors and the puppets in their hands, or like Miguel and Miguelito, the actor and the protagonist, and the protagonist puppet were like a real, like movable animatable puppet. And so he was like half hidden behind, but we saw the actor, but we had to focus on as the viewers on the puppet moving. And it was well, it is an art form, like a form of puppet theater in theater, but on a film it's really unusual. And so we couldn't, and we didn't plan for this beforehand because we didn't have time to test all this, and so we had to decide on the set, on the spot, that we're going to leave him in. So sometimes he was lit, his face was lit, because we had to light the puppet that was in front of him. And so yeah, we had to frame the camera, to find the way to frame it that it's not like disturbing for the viewer, and taking their focus away, and like their focus on the live actors. And we struggled to keep the viewer's attention on the puppetry and on the visual that was planned to be shot. So it was very tough, and I felt like I was left alone in that decision making, because Jacopo. Well, I don't know. I felt like I was quite cynical, as I usually am in environments where I'm not leading, and I don't get to make the decisions, but I get to, like, I love when the decisions are like thoroughly thought through and made.
Planned out.
But it planned out. But when I don't get to make the decisions, but I find out that they were lazy enough not to do it, I get cynical, and I don't need much. So if I find out that they were there's lust in the leadership, I can't be stopped. And so
You grow disheartened quite quickly.
yeah, because I then have the right to like rightfully think that the leadership should be given to someone else, someone more motivated. And yeah, so well, I had the agency there to take the decisions for myself there, for the film there. But I felt like then, after that, all the decision making was left to me, and the editing and all of that was left to me, which I couldn't finish and I couldn't do. And I passed it back to Jacopo, who I think is still working on the material in the end. But the point is, I find that this was like, it wasn't bad direction. It was the lack of direction that we've had in that environment. And I really, I love Jacopo, but I never had like that frustrating shoots before and since.
Yes, well, I feel like maybe he he's got a whole lot of faith in in the crew that he'd assembled, and so when he starts the role and ends the role, he feels confident that everyone is doing what he has envisioned without really communicating all the time.
Yeah, but I don't know what he's envisioned, because the material was written by us. We knew the story, and I felt like he's not invested in wanting to understand the story. So I felt like the lust part started there at like adapting the material.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I know, I mean, how can you be so sure of whether it, like, if everyone puts their energy and effort in, whether it's going to work out well if you don't
Yeah,
adapt
well,
the material?
that's exactly what I think, but I feel like that's possibly one of the elements that constituted to your feeling of like impreparedness, or you know,
Yeah, but
like
that is
indecisiveness.
exactly the case of not wanting to tell a story, rather wanting to make a film, and like everything else is just the surplus. Everything else is just the sides to the main course, which is making the film. And let there be anything. Let it be the final end result be anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, exactly.
Okay.
But well, in that vein, because you were talking about the editing of this film, I imagine that was quite a unique challenge for you, because we had a whole lot of three-dimensionality to that film, where we needed quite a few pickups of different angles of the puppet and what the puppet was doing. So how did that editing process work?
Well, I couldn't finish the editing, and neither in time, not at all. I only like laid out the spine of a movie, the dialogue scenes and the dialogue shots, the masters, and I didn't have time to overlay the like pickups and the rest of the shots. So I don't know. I really don't know. But I felt like we didn't have enough. Like, we made some pickups, but it was more like we have a master and we do some pickups. It wasn't like this is the sequence of pictures that will like put display the entire scene as a logistical like map of connections together. And with this kind of low budget independent film, it's most of the time like this. So you set out to shoot something, you plan a scene, and you plan, when storyboarding, a master shot that will capture all the dialogue and everything. And you plan to have some medium close-ups, some inserts, and that's it. And this is how you put it together. You overlap the spine with all these like assisting material. But I feel like these are cheap scenes. Like, when you do it like this, yeah, it's economical, obviously, yeah, but it's just not putting anything into the craft of shooting it. And so when you have when you plan a scene and you have enough time to do it that way, but even if you don't have the time, if your master is not a full shot that captures everything, but just a partial shot, that's already way more interesting. Like, you see the composition that you want to express the scene with, and not the full like space that you put your actors around. You have a mise en scène in the shot that is not a master setup, and even if you don't have the entire scene, like the movements of the actors in one complete shot that you can cut back to in the editing, you have a vision executed and not just a backup that you will use in the editing as the main, as the spine of the things that you will edit together. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How about we proceed to the editing phase, because that's an interesting thing as well.
Yeah, because that's where we've been. That's where we've been going. That's where we've been heading anyway with our last the last diatribe. Yeah. I mean, I did a little bit of editing while helping you in these last couple of ones. I mean, mainly I was helping Andrish actually with our bird or Ukrainian bird flick that we were trying to complete. And I was quite new to the technology and the software that we were using. But I don't know what to say. How about you start us off?
Well, there are quite straightforward edits when the script is like strict enough for a fiction. If you have, I mean, as I described, it's more like my way. I when you don't have that much improvisation, and you have it scripted like by the script supervisor on set, like how the shots turned out and how the takes for the shots turned out. You have everything lined up. Like you have your script, you have the good takes. You just like pick them from each of the set of takes for the shots, and you assemble the film, and that's it. Sometimes the editing is that easy, and obviously you composite after and you do the color work and the audio, but sometimes it's just that easy. But sometimes the script is like only a concept or not a full technical guide, and you don't even have your shot list, and you have lots and lots of like unlabeled material that you have to label, that you have to rewatch, that you have to compare, and it's a nightmare. Like it takes ages to edit a movie like that. And there is a midway where you have a script, but the script is only like bringing you halfway. It's not working. It's boring. The worst thing you can get out of an editing is boring. Yesterday we talked with Lily in another podcast for Near-Balkan about how a lazy and like a boring film, lazy from the side of the author, is the worst kind of film. Like anything else than boring, it works for a movie, but boring is the worst you can get. Like even if there is The Room and the film, oh hi Mark, I did not hit her, that monologue in the movie. That film is not boring. I mean, it is, but like watching it is not boring because it's so dumb that it makes you laugh, and it's not boring. So even if you fuck up everything, if it's not boring, it works. So with editing, like when you're so invested in the thing, you forgot all the outside like circumstances. You can't really tell whether it's boring or not, or only boring for you or will be boring for the audience. But the worst thing, your worst enemy during the editing, is having it boring or not making sense and thus being boring. And so sometimes there is a midway when the script planned everything out, but it's boring or it doesn't make sense. There are like semantic mistakes, and you still have some like wiggle room of choosing other scenes, changing the order, making it more interesting with the editing, montaging, cutting up, pacing, but underlaying like music and aligning, assigning the beats, the pacing of the scene to that, the cutting, the editing to the sound design. And I think the craft of editing, when we talk about craft, that's the midway. You can't really edit a movie that's not scripted. So the version where you don't have a script and you just label through everything, that's editing, obviously, but I never found like a watchable, enjoyable end result out of those processes if they didn't have a proper script. If they assembled and written a script afterward and that worked out and that had something to say, yeah, obviously, like with found footage movies, obviously you label through everything and you want to tell something. But when they had no narrative, no moral to the story to tell, to convey, it's nothing. So the craft of editing is when you have that script and you make decisions to tweak with that and to edit it differently from how it was planned, to tell the story better or to tell a wider story or to tell it more precisely. And so yeah, that is the fun part of that. After you have everything laid out, you have the decisions to make, and then you make decisions that can only be made in the editing room. Not shots that could be edited, but like compromises that are so creative because you're so limited. Like with editing, you can't say you're not working on a limited palette, because you are. The material that is shot for you is limited, so it's like a limited like palette of colors that you can operate with. And so any compromise that you make there has to be creative, and it has to like aim to tell the story even better than the circumstances would make you to.
Yeah, but yeah, you were also talking to me earlier about like differences in editing fiction and documentaries, and how like in a documentary you might feel like you're still discovering what the uh, intrigue is while you're filming it and while you're editing it down.
Exactly. But then I would also differentiate separate the phases of editing and scripting. Like with documentary, you always have that. Like if you had a pre-narrative, when it's a documentary, it's real life. Like it's improvisation, if you wish to say so. With documentary, even if you had a script that was strict, the responses, the reactions that you've gotten from the people that you recorded are overwriting all of that, and you have to script. So there is the phase of finding the narrative that you want to tell, and you might narrate over, or you might tell it like cinema verite, just putting the camera down there and edit together, like the Get Back, like Beatles documentaries were edited and scripted by Peter Jackson. But the important part, and what's mainly the difference between editing a fiction and editing a documentary, is the scripting phase. And yeah, obviously it's difficult to keep the spirit of the crew when you don't have a script, but you've already put so much effort into doing something. Like a situation that we have now with documentary shots on Martinique, and we wrapped shooting in late January, and the crew really wants to see something out of it. And I mean, there are motivated people, but there is this feeling in the air that this might not get made because we don't have a script. we don't have the idea of what we want to get out of this. And I always have the hope that, yeah, I mean, we will find it. We have to find it. We're motivated enough to do this, but we have to want to tell something.
Yeah.
So how was it editing the bird film, the Ukrainian?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was my first real shot at editing anything really, or well, editing any kind of film media, and I feel like well, you helped me a lot with the technology, and so did Andrish really. So it was more of an educational experience for me. Um, luckily, luckily, there was enough of a script to guide me in placing everything, and obviously, I had a fun time with trying all the filters or whatever. Not really filters, but like transitions, the preset transitions that no one really uses unless you're trying to make another school project. A real school project. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, well, the whole project that we were doing there with the birds and the Ukrainians was quite open ended, I think, and maybe that's part of the reason why uh you you can't understand the success of it in a way, because you're quite strict with yourself, and that translates to being slightly stricter with other people as well. Whereas the whole team involved in the Ukrainian film was quite experimental with everything. So they managed to give me a chance of an editing process.
Mm-hmm. I think that there is this like approach to editing, like that is the actual filmmaking. Like when you do a film out of found footage, you are a filmmaker, but you only do the editing basically. But storytelling is putting the actual like film strips together, like editing the timeline, because there you tell the story through the medium. I mean, storytelling is like you screenwriting and all the other types and mediums of that there are, but storytelling through the medium of film is not screenwriting, it's not directing, it's editing the thing. And so you have all the responsibility and you all have all the creative like expectations from the audience on what you're gonna edit together and how and what you're gonna show, because you still have to make the decisions there if it's not like tight scripted of what you're gonna show on each at each moment, on each of the words spoken and so on and so forth. But also with the editing, it's very important to have the coloring, to have the sound design, and to give like a sensorial experience. And for most of the low budget films, even mine included, like my previous works, and I only started to like invest my time and effort into the rest, missed like the audio experience with the movie, missed the color sensing experience with the movie, and it was only about capturing the compositions and telling the story by script. But with the audio and with the vivid colors or the palettes, it's a really different genre altogether, or medium altogether, because you have the smallest details emphasized with audio, and you have contrasts, juxtapositions made there, like invented there at the editing. And you don't have to have a story like by script. You can tell a story only with motion and audio, and it's such fun. Like it's an art form in itself. And even though like I was involved in screenwriting, and my filmmaking was based on screenwriting, I discovered that the art form is really not that, but having the audio visual winking back at you from the screen. It's nice.
Yeah.
So editing has all that as well.
Yeah. And out of all your roles, which do you feel most suited for generally? So the screenwriting, the editing, or the directing, or camera controlling?
Well, I studied screenwriting, I studied camera operation, and for a short period of time, for a few months, I studied directing, and I also studied for a year acting. So I have all of these short experiences that I could compare. I feel like I like writing the most, and also editing. Yeah, I forgot. Obviously, we talked about this just now. I like screenwriting the most because that's where I can, like, as we talked about this a lot in the previous episodes. I have a deep, like, interest in exposing injustice in any environment that I'm in, and I feel like writing is the tool for that, because with directing you can't do that. I mean, you can, by the dynamics of directing, you can dominate others, which is like, okay, well, if you direct for that, not the right job, but maybe. So there you can't really fight injustice. In the editing, if it's a storytelling kind of editing, which it should be, you could. But most of the time, I feel like when the editor is like in a, like, sub role in hierarchy, they don't really have a saying in what the decisions are, and how they're made. It's always the call of the director who's there with the editor. And so the editing, you can't really, in the editing, you can't fight the injustice, only if you're directing and writing at the same time by editing. So I find writing the source, or the platform where I could, like, reveal and expose all of these injustices. But at the same time, I feel like when I don't direct what I've written, and for years until now, I felt like, yeah, I can only write and they'll understand. I feel like they don't understand. Like, I write something, and I had this all throughout the summer. They don't understand. I have a vision on how to execute the things that actually, like, fight the injustices, and then they use the material as a springboard, as something to have them be in a director's position, or any executor's position, and they do the film. But it's not about the story, it's not about that plot, it's just a guiding material, a spine for them to do something of it. And I feel like, okay, if I don't write it, I can direct it, but it's not that interesting for me because it's not about an injustice. I can write it, but if they use my material for just a springboard, for just a spine, and they do a story, a film about something else, I mean, I feel betrayed. So I like writing and directing, authoring a film, and I had to go through all the positions to to find this, not in a narcissistic way. I mean, I love
Well,
it, and
in as much as all artists are somewhat narcissistic.
yeah, and I mean, yeah, obviously I am as well, but no, I don't mean like I like to do it because that's the leading position. I'd love a director who would understand and would be invested and motivated in realizing, executing the thing that I want to expose there. But I just never had this. I never had a director that wanted to truly, like, honestly put that story in on film. And I feel like until I don't have this director, I have to direct, and I don't find myself to be a good director. As I mentioned, I just can't find a way of having the actors improvise. But I feel like I have to get better in this, because otherwise I will just get betrayed and betrayed, continually.
Or at least you'll feel betrayed until you find a way to relieve that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. But there is this other author kind that wants to be a director but doesn't have a good writer, so they write the material for them to be able to direct. I'm the opposite. I would rather write and have the stories written down, like, just to be able to say that you were unjust, and this is recorded on paper. And no, this is one side of it, obviously. But the other is to make all the other people live through the experience, to make them understand. But yeah, how about you? What do you like the most? I mean, out of what you've already tried.
Yeah, well, out of what I've tried, I mean, in a way, I mean, I quite like acting in the artistic way, or to be part of the action. I find that maybe I get distracted if I'm uh, sitting down, having to be quiet for long periods of time while everything is happening around me. Um, I don't know, like I've got an intellectual fascination with writing, although I struggle to write things myself, even though I enjoy the process. Um,
Well, all writers do, so it's not a coincidence.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, I mean, right. My experiences writing with you are probably the best instances of that, uh, because your style of planning the narrative is quite engaging, I think.
well, I'd love to do it again with you. Was
Yes,
fun.
well, hopefully let it be so. We
Well,
should find a
a way
time.
to, yeah, and the time,
Yeah,
yeah. Obviously, that's the easier one, the more pragmatic one. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, but well, maybe with our well with your company and your competitions, we might be able to do something.
Well, please, ours will do.
Ours. Yeah.
And so acting it is then, for
Yeah.
you.
Well, I got quite in in the film in the film uh places, yeah. I think I enjoy the the realization of the acting process, I suppose.
Hmm. Well. And so you played in any of the theater plays that we've had during the projects, like Laurent's things, or
Yes, the first one, which was about the ship sinking.
the Medusa one with Poseidon, Ralph Poseidon.
Um, Was it that one?
Well,
No,
I
I think
think no.
it was the other one
The August
with
one. Oh yeah.
yeah,
The ship.
the
Yeah, the
Titanic.
captain and yeah. Well, yeah, I wasn't there on the final show, but
Oh, weren't
I
you?
know that must have been the best one. No, I left before the final show.
But
But
I
yeah.
thought didn't you record it though before you left?
Yeah, once I won rehearsal, but it wasn't even the final rehearsal. So I never seen that one together, but it was I mean until that point the best of all the theater performances in Manet in the projects that I've seen.
Yeah.
Uh, and so how would you compare the acting in that and the acting in the movies that we've made?
Hmm. Well, I feel yeah. Obviously, like Laurent's style of directing is tied to his mentality of directing the projects generally. So in a way, he he kind of gave pointers a little bit, but I mean, I only had a couple of lines anyway. I feel like he was more he was a more subdued director than you or Jacopo. Well, I mean, Jacopo was also kind of let's just do it a couple of times, and each time will be different, and we'll choose the right one in the editing process. Mm, I'm not sure. I feel like yours was more uh, structured in a way, um, and
Well, I
maybe
didn't
there's
give
a
directions, so compared to these, I mean, it wasn't that much different, but yeah, we had a
well
script at
you gave
least.
directions in your script,
Yeah,
you
well,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I think maybe that's why it's so difficult for you to bridge the gap between someone else's writing and your directing, or your writing and their directing, um, because you kind of say exactly what everyone should be doing on the page already, and or generally speaking, I think like you also like to mark when we should stop for a beat and not say anything, and which I think maybe is more logical. Um,
Hmm.
Whereas with Laurence, I think that we were we were getting the lines that he had just written like 5 minutes before, and we were trying something out. So it was kind of like a collaborative writing process, and then a collaborative acting process, and then he would just tweak things here or there.
Nice. Sounds
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I mean, you knew about his grounding technique before his game.
which is well, I mean, so great that we have to like repeat it every project. But yeah, it is great. I know.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. No, I think that it is a good technique, although maybe maybe it hindered the progress uh, of the final production, because we ended up doing that for most of the time.
Hmm. Well, and so would you pursue acting in any way after these experiences?
Hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not sure about professional acting, but in these kind of projects, I would definitely enjoy uh, to be a part of them again. It's always it's always a laugh and a worthwhile experience.
And why not the professional way? What's frightening in that one?
Well, I suppose I fear I'm not proficient enough at it, because I dabble in different arts all across the spectrum. I've never really specialized in anything.
Oh, well, me neither.
Yeah,
I understand you.
I can paint or write portraits sometimes, and maybe play some good music at odd intervals.
But still, like, professional wouldn't mean that like you have to be a professional to pursue the professional. It's just like, and it's not like final the decision that you like. You can still divert. I do this as well. Like, what stops you from going professional on it?
Well, a few years ago, well, at odd times, I tried to get involved in an agency to get casting calls and stuff like that, and it just never happened. I
Mm.
I went through all the paperwork and got all my face shots and body shots so that they could send it off to people who might be interested. And the one audition that I managed to go to, or that I managed to be offered,
Mhm.
it ended up taking hours, and then they closed for the day before I even really got a proper chance to audition.
Mm.
And then nothing else ever came up.
Well, it's usually like this. Like for the
Yeah.
first 1,000 times you don't get it, but
Well,
the
I mean, not getting it. I mean, that's a disappointment in itself. But not even really getting your foot in the door, I think, is a much bigger tragedy, because, like, okay, well, I've I've kind of put myself out there, and nothing has come of it at all. Like, not
but
even an opportunity, really.
then you just have to stop waiting for others to do and just start it yourself. Like
Yeah,
not
exactly.
acting for
Or
others in others' projects, but starting something that you can act out.
yeah, or becoming an influencer and filming myself.
Well, in some way, you don't have to be an influencer. You can be an artist as well. You don't have to influence opinions to act.
But
But
then,
yeah,
but then, how
it's
would I
nice.
instigate conflict if I don't
Yeah,
influence the masses?
I get your point. Well, nice. It was a nice episode. I the last one I loved very much with the writing process, but this we yeah we haven't been reminiscing lately on the shooting of all these films. So I missed that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that it was an amazing episode too. And we got down to more practical concerns, I suppose, like
Finally, yeah.
our yeah. Instead of just our ideas on things, we thought of or reflected on the problems of technicality, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. And we have one obligation because we postponed it every episode, but we have to explain why the title is "Seen How Many." Because now we're in the episode of a process. I mean, of a phase where it was involved in. So it was last July. We were shooting this puppet movie, Jacopo's picture, and we were planning like the schedules, or at least just trying to find out how it was scheduled, and so we were looking at the shot list, and I asked I asked you how like which scene have we just shot back
Well,
then, and I asked.
which scene are we shooting right now?
Yeah, I was shooting, and I only asked seen how many, like not which one, but how many as a quantity,
Yeah.
and
How
it
many,
stuck.
man? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of our many quips that we like to reference.
Yeah, but it's really in you have to shoot a film to have an understanding of how
Yeah.
tired you have to be to just ask seen how many
Seen
are
how
we
many?
shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have a few of those, like cut good and
Cut good and
what was it?
what are all the other ones? Well, we've got lots of quotes from the original satire. The continuance.
Stand by for car, stand by for airplane.
Yeah.
What was it?
Stand by for car, stand by for sneeze.
Yeah. Well, you have to pursue it to find the small magic in it,
The
and then
golden nuggets.
the golden nuggets, and then you can recite. Yeah. So that's why we're seeing how many, and our private joke is now a podcast. So what can you do?
Yes.
Um,
Well, now we get to say episode how many?
and this was episode how many, if not 5, and we're only gonna make 6. So this was the penultimate, and the next one we're gonna discuss premiering the film, projecting the film, and the afterlife of independent, low budget, no budget, almost student like films. What can you do with them? Where can you go with them? And why these should be regarded as proofs of concept, and why platforms like Near-Balkan and any other film production companies can be a way to source your material into, your ideas into, with these proofs of concept, and actually go for funding, like real European national level or capitalist companies that would source would fund your concepts to be made as feature films or any way possible. So we're going to discuss that in the next episode, and until then, I guess 2 weeks from now, see you.
See you, and also visit the site and
Y-
and uh, and look up our YouTube shorts and
and
all of those things.
anything you can find. Yeah.
Anything you
Well,
can find, yes.
I guess see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks.